All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Parsha review segment. Parsha's Va'et Hanan or Va'es Hanan, where Moses is begging Hashem just to go into the land of Israel. And Hashem tells him, would you quit it already? Right? That's the first time that was ever said was Moshe begging to go into the land. Either way, Parsha Va'es Hanan is the second in the book of Deuteronomy, in book of Devarim, the 45th portion since the beginning of the Torah. There are 118 verses, 1,878 words, and 7,343 letters. It is Deuteronomy 3, verse 23 to 7:11 to chapter 7, verse 11 in Deuteronomy. So there are 12 mitzvahs in this week's Parsha, 8 performative and 4 prohibitions. And again, like we mentioned last week, this whole book of Deuteronomy is the last 36 days, the last 5 weeks of Moshe's life, where these are his parting words, which he is going to guide the Jewish people with their inheritance, essentially. This is the last licks. This is what you've got from Moshe, okay? And also we're going to talk about God, the Torah, and the commandments, which is really the essence of everything. Okay, let's see what it is. Although Moshe is content that Yehoshua will lead the nation, Moshe nevertheless prays to enter the land of Israel in order to fulfill its special mitzvahs. Hashem refuses. Again, Hashem says, stop and don't ask anymore because we're done. You're not going in and that's it. Okay? Important to keep that in mind, that what Moshe is teaching us here also is that just because we get a no doesn't mean that we stop. My children, if I said no about them getting a lollipop and they said, okay, I'll take them to a doctor. Something wrong with them, right? Right? You say no, they're like, oh, why can't I have? All right, and they'll start asking. I have one son who's, when he wants something, he just will ask 50 times. Until you're just like, fine, just take whatever you want. Just stop already. It's like, can I have this? 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 And I was like, okay, fine, just take it already. So that's also a tactic. But the idea is that when we want something from Hashem, we need to keep on asking. And that's the big lesson that we're learning is that Moshe doesn't lose hope. He doesn't lose hope. He's always pushing forward on the dream. The dream is, I'm going to enter into the land of Israel. Unfortunately, that wasn't successful, but he doesn't stop hoping for it. Okay, next is never forget. Moshe reminds the Jewish people of the gathering at Mount Sinai when they received the Torah, that they saw no visual representation of the divine, but only the sounds of words. Okay, you didn't see Hashem, nothing to see. But what you could see, which is the amazing thing, is you can see the results. You can see Hashem's actions, but you can't see his deeds, so to speak. You can't see what he's doing physically, but you see the results always work out properly. So that's point number 1, is never forget where you come from. The person, the podcast I released yesterday, you're welcome to listen to it, on arrogance. Arrogance only happens when someone loses sight of who they really are. If someone realizes that they're a creation of Hashem and that everything they have is a gift from Hashem, what right do I have to show off and be a big shot? It's from Hashem. Moshe, now the Jewish people, we can say we have more Nobel Peace Prize laureates and we have all the other great Jewish accomplishments, right? But don't forget, you were once slaves. Okay, you're a humble people. Stay humble. Okay, Moshe impresses on the Jewish people that the Mount Sinai revelation took place before an entire nation, not a select elite, and that only the Jewish people will ever claim that Hashem spoke to the entire nation. It's an amazing thing. Is there any other religion in the history of the world that even claimed that God spoke to a multitude of people. No. Amazing, right? Only the Jewish people.
Is this a link to our chosenness?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, right? Kimi goy gadol asher lo elokim krovim elav ka'ashem elokeinu v'chol kareinu elav. Umi goy gadol asher lo chukim v'mishpatim tzadikim k'chol hatoras hazos asher anochi nosim lefnechem hayom. Right? Sorry. Ushmartem v'asisem ki hi chachmaschem v'naschem le'eni ha'amim. There's no nation that has ever claimed that they had a public revelation. That's why it's essential. If anybody tells you they don't believe in Judaism, or they don't, sometimes it used to be that people, you'd ask them, so why don't you observe the Torah? Right? So they'd say, well, because I don't believe in God. So, okay, if I prove to you that there's a God, will you keep his Torah? Right? So most people will say, honestly, no, I won't. It's just because I have a certain habit of how I live my life, and it's not comfortable for me to change it. But the truth is that if anyone ever wanted a proof, that's one of the greatest proofs. Public revelation. That Hashem spoke to 3.2 million people at Mount Sinai, and there's no refutation. In the history of the world, there hasn't been a refutation to that revelation. And that the revelation, in fact, even the Christians agree that the Jewish people had a public revelation. Even the Muslims agree that the Jewish people had a public revelation, and that we received the Torah of Mount Sinai from heaven, and that Moses ascended to the top of the mountain, to the heavens, to receive the tablets. Everyone agrees on these facts. And yet nobody agrees. You know, there was a guy who was thrown into prison a couple of weeks ago. I saw this because he took an Israeli into Mecca. Right? He took an Israeli in. If you're not Muslim, right? Only Islam has a path to heaven in their eyes. Right? And in the Christian eyes, if you don't believe in Christianity, you have eternal damnation. Judaism is the only religion that says everyone is welcome if they want. If they don't, they have their own path. It's the most remarkable thing. It's only Judaism that has that. Okay, and it's because we have the truth that we don't need to coerce anyone. Okay, next. So it's a very powerful thing if we realize that everything that we have in our Torah is given by Hashem publicly. So there's no misunderstanding. So I'll give you an example. Okay, if I talk to you privately, Eliana, and I tell you I'm going to give you at the end, I'll give you $50. Okay, privately. You come out from the room. You come out here and you say, "Hey, where's my $50?" I'm like, $50? What are you talking about? I never said. We can refute because it's your word against my word. What's if I say it in front of everybody and everybody heard it? Now what? Now I'm obligated to it because everyone heard it. So that's the difference when you have Muhammad who says he had a dream in his tent and God spoke to him and said that he's the chosen one. What happened to the Jewish people? Oh, they lost their chance. Now it's me. Right? You don't think you would share it with someone else? Or one of the things that people say is like, if there are two brothers fighting over an inheritance, right? The father leaves $100 million, and the two brothers are fighting who gets the money. So this one says I get all the money. This one says I get all the money. I say, okay, let's split it. No, Dad told me. Okay. One day, one brother goes over to the other and he says, I get the money. He says, why do you get the money? He says, because Dad came to me last night in a dream and he told me. Right? So he says, idiot, don't you think if Dad wanted you to get it, he would come to me in the dream and say that it goes to you? We're going to you. What does that help? That's Muhammad saying, I'm the chosen one. Don't you think God should have come to the Jewish people and say, if I are turning my back towards you and now going to someone else, shouldn't he tell it to the Jews? No, just Muhammad in his okay. So Next is Moshe specifically enjoins the Bnei Yisrael to pass over the Mount Sinai event to their children throughout all generations. A very important thing. Never stop talking about Mount Sinai. Never stop talking about the Exodus from Egypt. We can't, it's not just an event like a Memorial Day. Well, many people don't even know what Memorial Day is. You see some flags around Meyerland. They put flags in everyone's walkway. It's like, what's Memorial Day? It's a day that, some people will even have some fireworks that they can see, right? It's like a prelude to July 4th, Independence Day, right? Oh, what is it? No idea, right? Oh, some memorial for something. I don't know. That's not what Judaism is about. That's not what Rosh Hashanah is about, and Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, and Hanukkah, and Purim, and Pesach, and Shavuot. It's not just some memorial day. We're memorializing something. It's reliving that experience, because in Judaism, it's critically important that we always reconnect to our origin. We always reconnect to what it is that made us into a nation. Why? Because of the next part. And that is that the Jewish people have a propensity of falling into the trap of luxury. And when we're too comfortable, we kick back against God. And that's a warning that we see constantly in the Torah. In this week's Parsha, be very careful. I'll read it to you here. Raki Shomer, only be careful. Be careful for yourself and safeguard your soul greatly, lest you forget the things that your eyes saw. And lest they pass from your heart all the days of your life. And you shall make them known to your children and to your grandchildren and to your great-grandchildren. They have to remember this, but be careful. Don't get too comfortable. You're going to get too comfortable. You know what's going to happen? Look at our history. It's like I was learning the book of Isaiah with my ninth grade students. And this is a couple of years ago. And it's remarkable. I can tell you the whole story in about 20 words. Want to hear the whole story? Very simple. The Jews did good, they got good. They did bad, they got bad. All right? When they got good, they got comfortable, and they started rebelling, and they slipped down. They right? And they did bad. They got punishment. They're like, oh, Yiveh, what did we do? And they changed their ways to go back to doing good. And again, the same cycle happens. But we have to protect ourselves from that. We have to protect ourselves that just because, let me tell you, it's an amazing thing. It really is amazing. Do you know today on this little device here that you see here, there is more Torah knowledge, wisdom available on this device than there ever was in the history of the world, in all of the study halls combined? But all we have to do is use it. It's available. But are you going to use it? I listened to Daf Yomi with the 2,711 pages of Talmud right here on my phone. Right? You can listen to any lecture. You can hear all the Torch podcasts. You can watch all the Torch videos and millions of other Torah classes. But you can also watch nonsense. And you can be watching one viral video after another viral video after another viral video and wasting our lives. So it's not that the resources aren't there. The resources are there. It's just our choice, like it always was. Am I going to go to the synagogue, or am I going to go to the movie theater? Am I going to hear the rabbi's sermon, or am I just going to sit this one out? I had this is several years ago, a bunch of years ago. I had a group of people by me for the holiday of Sukkot. And we went around the table, and I said, I want everybody to share what they're looking forward to in the coming year. It's a new year. We just started Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. And now it's the first holiday. It's like right away, boom, we go into our sukkah and we celebrate. So what do you anticipate for this new year? So I had a couple of college students from UT, and they said, "Oh, we realized that next year we're not going to be celebrating Yom Kippur." So why not? Oh, the UT football game is on Yom Kippur. UT football is Bible. I'm sorry, God, but you'll have to wait. Right? That's a big problem. It's a big problem that our youth don't understand the importance of this holy day. But this is what the Torah is telling us in this week's Torah portion: is make sure that you tell your children they should understand the value, they should understand the importance of the Torah and its teachings. Okay, history repeats itself. Moshe predicts accurately that when the Jewish people dwell in Eretz Yisrael, they will sin and be scattered among all the nations. They will stay few in number. How many Jews are there in the world? 15 million. What happened? What happened? Shoot, we were the first. We have many children. There's no reason we're not 2 billion or 20 billion people. No, we're not. We're 15 million. That's it. We will stay few in number, but will eventually return to Hashem. Right? We always lose it, sadly, and we always need to come back. That's why it's the entire. I've told you this before. My grandfather, famous Rabbi Shlomo Wolbe, grew up as a secular Jew. He didn't grow up with Shabbos in his home. It was only when he went to yeshiva that he learned about it. How he went to yeshiva is a whole different story. Then we talk about the cities of refuge. Moshe designates 3 cities of refuge to which an inadvertent killer may flee. There's none in there. There's none in there. They're over there. They're over there. So there are 3 cities of refuge in the land of Israel, and there are also 3 cities of refuge in the Transjordan territory. Now, we have in this week's Parsha the most important piece of all of the Torah, and that is something that is repeated 3 times a day by every Jew, the Shema. The Shema is the mission statement of the Jewish people. Right? Moshe repeats the 10 Commandments, then teaches the Shema, the central credo of Judaism, that there is only one God. Moshe warns the people not to succumb to materialism, forgetting their purpose as a spiritual nation. This is a constant battle, a constant struggle, and a constant reminder we see in the Torah of warning. Be careful, don't go after your temptations and after your desires and after what your eyes see, because your eyes will lure you astray and take you away from your destiny. And the last part of this week's Parsha is about intermarriage, where the Torah portion concludes with Moshe exhorting Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, not to intermarry when they enter Eretz Yisrael, when they enter into the land of Israel, as they cannot be a treasured and holy nation if they intermarry. And that in doing so, they will become indistinguishable from the other nations. So this is also going into that topic of that email, which I'm sure when you all go home, you'll read that email. But that's the worry. I once had a guy that was probably one of the most prominent people in Houston in the Jewish community, a leader of a very respectable organization. And we used to learn together. We learned together for about 9 years. And we once got into a conversation about assimilation. And he says to me, don't use that word. Don't use it. It's offensive. So what do you mean it's offensive? He says it's offensive. Well, why? Because his son married a Mormon girl.
Oh.
And his other son married I don't even know if he's married even yet. But either way, you know who didn't show up to the wedding? Because it was an intermarriage? The Mormon grandparents.
Crazy.
It's terrible. It's terrifying. So he said, don't talk about assimilation. Assimilation is a very offensive term. What do you mean? So the Torah tells us. Do not assimilate with the nations of the world. Do not assimilate with the nations of the world, because we will become indistinguishable. Right? There's many reasons for it. If someone wants to convert, great. We see Samson, right? He met Delilah. She wanted to marry. Okay, she had to convert. Abraham, all his children, whoever they married, they had to convert. So it's not a big deal, but it has to be done properly. Okay, so this is a very important thing. If there's one lesson we can take from the Torah, is that Jews will always be isolated wherever we are. Trying to integrate into the secular world, into the Gentile world, is never going to work for us. It never did, it never will. There's never once in history we said, oh, now they're all the Jews are intermarrying with us, let's love them. Never happened. Oh, now that they're all wealthy and they're not leeches on society, let's love them. When we had money, they hated us. When we didn't have money, they hated us. When we intermarried, they hated us. And when we segregated and were separate, they hated us. Whatever we do, they will hate us. But that's why there is hatred from the nations of the world. Hashem says, they are my messenger to keep you on track. They are Hashem's messenger. Yes, our identity is unique and different and special, and we have a responsibility. We're not elitists. Jews are not elitists. But we have a different responsibility that the nations of the world expect us to live up to. I've told you this numerous times, that I see people all the time, wherever I go, people see me walking around with my yarmulke, with my tzitzis, and people like, oh, God bless you, the Jewish people. I get all these things. I pray for you. You know, all these different, okay. I had once someone said to me, you know, I really love the Jewish people. I said, why, thank you. I said, why do you love us? He said, because you're God's people. You're God's people. Then he said something which is very, very, very important. I never heard this before, but I think it's so accurate. You guys need to stay an example for all of us in the nations of the world. Remember that you're here to be an example for the nations of the world. We look at you to see what the right thing to do is. We look at you as an example, and many times you say, no, I'm just going to go along to get along, just like everyone just, no. They're looking at us. I want to share with you, there's a video that came out for Tisha B'Av, and it's about the Jewish people. It's about the Jewish people, and it says there's a few stories about what it means to be a Jew. Absolutely remarkable. I recommend, if I get the link, again, I'll try to send it to you. It is absolutely remarkable. You'll feel proud to be Jewish. And not only that, you'll feel proud to be distinguished as a Jew, meaning different. Yeah, you know what? Let them see that I'm different. Because they look up to us when we are. And when we, you see, we sometimes think, oh, this happens a lot in the yeshiva community. Oh, we're going to a stadium. We don't want everyone to look at us and know that we're Jewish. We're going to wear a baseball cap. Oh, now nobody knows that you're Jewish. If you pay us out like that, no one's going to know that you're Jewish, right? Don't hide it. Be proud of it. Take responsibility. Act appropriately. Elevate the world. Let the world see the proper way to act, the proper way to talk to children, the proper way to behave. The nations of the world are looking to us. We're the chosen nation. Let's live up to it. That is the statement here of this week's Parsha. Just as a very brief synopsis that we have here on the bottom, Moshe prays again to see the land. Hashem says enough. All right. Never forget what you've seen. The exiles are also described here. The 10 Commandments, the Shema, the first part of the Shema, the review of Exodus 5 and 6, and then the reminder not to be too comfortable. Trust in God, teach your children, and you are a holy nation. Remember that and live up to it. My dear friends, have a magnificent Shabbos. I look forward to seeing all y'all at one of the classes going forward. Any questions, you're welcome to unmute yourselves.
Thank you,
Howard,
Rabbi.
Howard, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you, Pascal.
Thank you, Rabbi Wolbe.
Thank you, Anna.
Good night.
Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Shabbos.
Good night. Good night.